Earlier this year, I asked you, the listeners, to tell me what it was that you wanted to hear on this show. One of the responses I got from Ryan Brown of Next Level Essentials was that he wanted to hear more about me. So I did the only thing I knew to do. I invited him on the show as a guest, or as a host, or maybe as the guest host. Regardless, this episode is all about him interviewing me for you, the listeners, as together we are building the future.
This is the Building the Future podcast. I am your host, the lumberjack, Brett Thorne. On this show, we explore topics including construction, building materials, real estate, remodeling, the housing market, industry news, new products and trends, technology, government, everything you need for building the future.
Brett, I listened to a lot of your podcasts, and I realized I didn't know anything about you, even though I knew a ton about your guests, and I thought maybe your audience would like to know a little bit about you. And so I was hoping I could pull some of that out of you without you even really having time to guard against it, and people would understand you a little bit more.
Hey, I never thought about it from that way, Ryan. That's a very valid point. Yeah, that's something.
Helps them connect with you a little bit,
Yeah, true. Very true. I guess we could have just staged. I said, hey, Ryan, why don't you come up with the deal?
Yeah, we could have.
You be the guest host on this, and I'll be the.
People like you just really draw me in. So I'm like a moth to like Brett Thorne's flame, because you're kind of an unusual cat, man. To run a podcast where you're paying for it. You've started your own. It's and you know a little bit about everything. That natural curiosity is kind of a rare thing in my travels anyway. And so when I find someone that curious and that driven, it's I want to know what drives you. So really, I sort of invited you to your own podcast because I wanted to interview you and find out what made you tick.
That's a rabbit hole that may go pretty deep. I don't know.
You seem not quite eagle-ish, Brett, but perhaps at work, the Brett at work is a little different than the Brett on the podcast or the Brett at home.
Yeah, I would say, and my personality in the professional world has developed a lot. Of course, it had to. When I was growing up, well, I'll give you a perfect example. When I was in college, I took a semester I took a summer. I moved out to Virginia. I left there. I went to Central America, did a study abroad program, and I came back from there. Then I went to Idaho to be a river guide. And I was a bit of a drifter, and I was very carefree, very charismatic kid. Hey, let's very loose and easy going. Hey, man, let's just take life as it is. But in the professional world, I realized that to be successful, I've got to be a lot more organized. Which I was not a great organization person. Now I wouldn't say I'm phenomenal, but I'm very good about planning and scheduling, and staying on top of stuff. And to-do lists are constantly being done. My calendar's full. I'm always plugging things in. This is what needs to be done today. This is what needs to be done this week. Trying to, again, professionally improve myself. Saying, okay, but now that was a force to get me to do that, because my lifestyle was just so leisure and just so carefree. Not that it didn't have care stuff, but I just, hey, I just took life as it came. Easy going.
Yeah. Well, what advice would you have for somebody that comes to you and said, Brett, I'm starting a business, but I don't really know exactly what it is that I want to be known for. I think I'm too broad. How did you really dial into what you turned out to be? Was it intentional?
Can you give me a little more context to that?
Yeah. So you're in the lumber business, and I think your father did he start it 30 years ago?
Yes.
Or okay,
They bought out an existing location. Mhm.
okay, all right. And then so how did you decide what it was that you wanted to be like? I think we all have personal brands really out in the business world, and we have certain things that we want to be known for, or that we're really good at, and we sort of sliding toward those things. And some of it's unconscious, some of it is conscious. And I was just wondering if you had some sort of conscious anchoring into what it is that people know Brett Thorne for in the LBM world, or if it sort of happened by accident in a way. Because I mean, you know who you are, and I think a lot of people now who listen to these podcasts and do business with you know who you are. Have you always been this way, and or have you evolved, and was it purposeful?
Well, if you're talking more about, the personality style, no, my personality has always been, very outgoing, very social, very connected. I've always been a mingler per se.
Yeah,
I
right.
have no problems going up and talking to people and introducing myself and making new connections and, finding out about people. I'm just very interested in people, whether it's customers, coworkers, other companies, but then again, personally, I guess I have a lot of drive too. I don't like to be average. And I
Mm,
understand. I know that there's things that I'm not good at, and I'm willing to admit it. Hey, I'm either A, I've got to improve it, just like my organizational skills, or B, I got to find somebody else that can do it, that can complement me, that can handle those things, because I know my weaknesses, and I say, okay, I'm not good at these. I've got to pass them off, or I've got to either buckle down and get it figured out. Because I do have a lot of drive. I like to succeed. I like to accomplish things. I work on tons of little projects around my house. I do. I am working on a table. It's going to go. It's kind of a high top table that I'm going to put a damn chessboard on. So I'm like,
yeah,
I need a table for this. I'm like, well, I'm going to build it. That's what I'm going to do. Damn it. So I mean, it's just little things like that. I'm like, and I've been working on it for 2 or 3 months now. I mean, and it's nothing fancy. It's nothing fantastic. But I mean, I just, I've got my mindset. I'm going to do it. So, yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to build my own damn table. And I'm not going to. And my mom said, well, why don't you just go see if you can find something to buy? I'm like, nah, that's no fun. I want to build it, man. I want to have my own table. I want to. So just little things like that, just the drive, but I will say on the downside of that, or the negative side of that, is that I get too many irons in the fire a lot of times. I get too many little projects. Well, podcast, perfect example. And I dove down this thing because I wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. I wanted to give back to this industry, which is a phenomenal industry. And it made so much sense to do it. This is all my time. It's all my money that goes into it.
yeah,
But I do it, and I'm committed to it. Number one, I get a lot out of it. For my own personal growth, I get a lot of recognition. I get a lot of new people, but being able to talk to people like Thea Dudley's and Rick Davis's and Ken Wilbanks. I mean, I get so much knowledge and years of experience, and it helps me grow so much. So yeah, it's a commitment, but I'm willing to do it. I've got the drive. I've got the passion. I've got the desire, and I'm one of those people that there's nothing that's going to stop me. I mean, yeah, I might fail, and the next
yeah.
time I'm going to fail better, and after that, I'm going to fail even better, and I'll keep failing, and I'll keep improving until I figure it out.
See, those are the kind of people that I'm always in search of within these organizations. You don't find Brett. You don't find it very often where you find someone who's so curious and is willing to shake things up, tear them apart, see how it works, and see how it can go better from a business process or from some transformational idea. And I guess that's why I'm drawn to fellows like you, because that's not something that you can teach. Curiosity and drive are just something that it seems to be an innate. You're either born with it or you're not. Or maybe you would not agree with that. I don't know. Have you always been that way though?
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I would
I mean,
sense you have been.
a lot of grit. Well, perfect example is, I told you I went out to Idaho to be a river guide. When I did that, I grabbed a map. Of course, this was back in, was it in the 90s? No, it was early 2000s, right after the turn of the millennium. I grabbed a map. I loaded my car with everything I thought I would need and just took off driving. And you know what? Didn't have a plan. Obviously, I kind of knew where I was going. I had a couple places I was going to go to. A little bit more backstory. When I was in Central America, when I was studying down there, and I stayed down there and just traveled and surfed and hung out. I met a ton of people from Idaho. I was ignorant to Idaho at that time. Very not well cultured, being from the Midwest, so I didn't know a lot about Idaho. But people there told me so much about it. So it's a beautiful place. It's just like Colorado was 20 years ago before everybody knew about it. Hell, that's 20 years ago now. But anyway, so I just decided I'm going to Idaho, and damn it, I'm going to be a river guide. That's what I'm going to do. Matter of fact, that picture right there and that picture, you can't see it. Right there's that's my river guide license right there from Idaho. And so, you know what? I did it. I just took off driving, loaded my car, had a map. I've had a plan together. Now, granted, my plan obviously changed quite dramatically. I didn't know I knew what I wanted. I knew what the first steps were. I didn't know what all the steps were going to be to get there, but I knew the starting steps, and I just did it. I just went and I drove, and I got to Idaho, and let's see, kind of recap the story here to try to give you a Cliff Notes version. I got there, and of course, Idaho's a small place. It's tiny. It's much more popular now, but it really was. I pulled into Stanley, Idaho, and I pulled in, and the sign said population 99. Just a tiny little place, but it's a recreational paradise. And so when I got out there, I immediately started introducing myself, and there's, trust me, it's not hard because there's like, a couple restaurants and a couple bars. So, everybody within a few hours. And of course, being an outsider from Missouri, everybody knew me very quickly because whoa, who are you? Where the hell are you from? Yeah. But, and I told people, I said, I'm from Missouri. I'm here. I want to be a river guide. And I still remember one of the things they told me, they said, if you want to be a river guide in Idaho, you either A, had to be born on the river, or B, baptized in it. And I said, well, I'm neither one, but I'm here, and that's what I'm going to do. And not that people were trying to discourage me, but, more just people just telling you, because that's an area where everybody that was there came back year after year after year. And some of it was generational. Some of their kids were doing it. Small place, small community. Everybody kind of knew everybody, but I didn't care. I'm like, and matter of fact, I got job offers at a couple of the bars and restaurants because I had a lot of service experience. Obviously, I've got a good personality for it. And they're like, well, because I was there, it was a summer deal for me. I'm like, I was going back to school in the fall. And I said, no. They're like, well, hey man, if you want to get behind the mahogany, you can sling some drinks. And I said, you know what? Here's the deal. I bartended, and I could bartend when I go back to Missouri. I came to Idaho for one reason. I came here to be a river guide, and that's it. It's either that or nothing. I don't care. That's it. That's what I'm determined on. And so I started spending time with all the guide companies. In the mornings when because I got there when it was training season. They don't really, Memorial Week into Labor Day week is kind of their season. So I went as soon as I got out of school early May. So I was there probably 2-3 weeks early. Everybody was training. I was up crack of dawn every morning with all of them. And I was throwing boats. We were pumping boats. I was doing everything. I was carrying my full load. So just not for pay, not for anything, just to do it. I said, you know what? Hey, if nothing else, I had a great experience. I'm getting to know a lot of cool people. Loved it. And eventually one of the outfitters, he said, hey, Brett, man, he said, I'll tell you what. He said, you're a great guy. Everybody loves you. You're a hard worker. You're willing to get it done. He said, I'm going to sign it because you have to get lead guide, or a guide outfitter has to sign off on you in order to get your guide's license, which back there. You can't just go and get it at that time. Now they may do different things. I don't know. But there you had to actually have a company owner or an outfitter that could, because they have to testify and say, yes, he has been down this stretch, because you get licensed on certain pieces of river. Not like I can't just go anywhere and guide. I can only guide on certain sections of river. Depending, there's a lot of legality stuff to it. But regardless, so he signed off on me on the section of river they run, which is SA1, Salmon Area 1. I was in the upper main of the salmon. And he said, Brett, I can't guarantee you, I can get you a lot of work. He said, but he said, I've got my full crew here, which I always have, because they plan, months in ahead and years ahead of, they got to have their crew for the summer. And he said, but I'll tell you what, anytime I got openings, you can run. He goes, and if any of the other companies, now that you're licensed, I could run with anybody. He said, any other companies that open, you can run with them. He said, I'll throw every bit of work that you can. There wasn't very many days that summer I wasn't on the river, taking people down. Just, I mean, that's how it was. But that was kind of my personality. And people told me all the time, they said, oh man. And the thing is, people would say, oh my God, that's so amazing. Gosh, that's unbelievable. God, I'd love to do something like that. And I'm like, well, why don't you? It's not that hard. I didn't have anything special. I didn't know anybody. I mean, I tell them the story. I'm like, anybody can do what I did. But so many people just don't have the courage. They don't have the grit. They don't have the determination. But that's all it took. But I wasn't afraid to do that. I wasn't afraid to throw caution to the wind and say, this is something I want to accomplish. And I just went out and did it. So there you go. That's a very long story. I apologize about that. But that kind of gives you that personality, I guess.
Well, yeah. And I think that's a God-given personality that you got there. And I would argue that you're still doing the river guide business right now. In fact, I think you take people, like, at least with the podcast business, Brett, I feel like you are taking them through uncharted waters, going through topics that you don't know anything about yet, or they don't know anything about yet, but together you're figuring this out, but you are the lead guy taking them through. And there must be some sort of higher purpose at play here that sort of pulls guys like you into doing stuff like that. And that's what I'm curious about is what drives people to just throw caution to the wind and go become a river guide in some state they've never been into, or to take people that he doesn't know in this industry and educate them on various topics. Like, what is in it for you? What's the fulfillment, if any?
I think the fulfillment's just personal satisfaction of accomplishment. Saying, hey, I'm a river guide. I got a license right back there. Everybody says, oh, you're so lucky. No, I'm not lucky. I wanted to do it. And I said, I can do this. I know I can. No, I wasn't born on the river. No, I wasn't baptized in it. But you know what? I'm going to be a river guide. That's exactly what I'm going to do because, I had my mind set to it. It's the old saying, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. So, I mean, I was one of those people, if that was something I wanted to do, if that was a passion, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd love to go river guide again. I mean, you talk about, I got paid to go and whitewater raft every day. I mean, you talk about an amazing life. I mean, that was, one of those things you look back on, it just makes you smile. I mean, it was so enjoyable. It was just so creative. I mean, well, and here's another story. And if you get tired of hearing stories about me, actually, we're supposed to be talking about you, but you brought it up. Ryan.
I did bring it up. Yeah, absolutely.
So 2 years ago in 2019, so I've been elk hunting for many, many years. My father started back in the 80s and I started going back in the 90s. And I've been going on and off pretty consistently there for the last probably 10 years. I think a few years you'll hear it off here and there. Last year I didn't go, just was too much going on. Work, COVID, everything was just chaos. Yeah. But in 2019, the guys I usually go with, nobody was going. Everybody had too much going on. So I just went by myself. Just drove out there. I don't know, whatever. I'm going. I'm going to go out and elk hunt. And the elk hunting we do is, it's completely over the counter. It's and by over the counter, you just go in, you buy a tag over the counter. It's all DIY. It's not guided. It's not outfitted. You got your own camp. I mean, you provide your own food, your own meals. You do everything yourself. It's 100% self-sufficient. Now, granted, you got a group of guys. It's easier. You've got guys. You've got people there to help. People who do things around camp or whatever. But I just went by myself. I said, I don't care. I'm still going. I'll go by myself. It doesn't scare me at all. And I went back and I was back in the woods for 3, 4, 5 days at a time, just by myself.
By yourself.
And yeah. But those are the kind of things that, I wanted to go. And just because everybody else in the group that normally goes couldn't go, doesn't mean that I couldn't go. I was still going to go. So I went.
Yeah.
And hell, I ended up harvesting an elk. It took me 3.5 days to pack it out because it was just me and everybody else there. I didn't have any of my mule buddies to help bring it out. But I got it done, man. But you find a way.
No, this is what I live for. I live for being able to meet guys like you and other people in this great business, this great industry, and they're all just real people, aren't they, Brett? They're just normal people that
Bingo.
have hopes and dreams, and they talk and they're straightforward, and It's not like that in some other areas. And so, the people you interview are in this business for various reasons, but it's all intentional. It's all by choice.
Yeah, it's a people industry. I mean, and again, it's just a great industry. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, life's too short to not enjoy what you're doing. And I can usually tell when someone likes what they do within about a minute or two. And I can tell right away that you might even have trouble getting to sleep tonight, Brett, because you got so many things going on and you got so many interests that I don't know how you shut down a great big man like yourself, but probably takes a couple tranquilizers and then you're down. But
you might find this hard to believe. I can sleep anywhere, anytime. When my body shuts down, it just shuts down. I mean, I can I can be out like that, man. When I lay down, I close my eyes, it's done. I mean, and I think it's just I'm exhausting so much the entire time. When I'm in the waking hours, it's just go, 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 and it's just let's do everything to its fullest. Let's give it all. And then when it's time to rest, maybe my body just shuts down. Says, okay, it's rest time. Let's close it up. Let's close up shop and let's get ready for tomorrow.
Oh man, that'd be nice. I'm gonna try that philosophy. I'm gonna try to will myself to do that.
Now that's not always the case. I mean, obviously there's times of turmoil and you got a lot going on up here and it's really tough to shut it down up here. But for the most part, man, yeah, I mean, when it's night, when it's lights out time, man, it's I have no issues, man. I've never had a problem sleeping. Now that's
clear conscience.
Normal circumstances. Yeah, normal. Hey, that's part of life. Knowing that you're happy, you're enjoying life, man. Your things are going well. You just, like you said, clear conscious, man. Sleep's easy.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to learn some stuff about you. I didn't know you had international business experience until I had to I listened to one of those podcasts. I think it was with Ruth Keller.
Ruth Keller Grubbs, because she has an international business degree.
Yeah, and so it came out though, right? And so I'm going to guess most of your listeners don't know a whole lot about you, and so I hope you kind of leave some of that stuff in there as you're cutting and pasting some of these random talks that we've been having, because I think people would like to know. I think they've gotten to know you a little bit, but they don't really know you. And so hopefully you leave some of that in there. And I think you'll like the result.
Kind of a man of mystery.
Well, you put out a thing on LinkedIn last week, or was it this week, where you said, hey, my podcast, what do you like? What's working for you? Mm-hmm. Right. And I don't know what people wrote back, but I would guess that some of them would say, well, tell us more about yourself and what drives you, because we're out here telling us about you or about us, and you're an interesting guy. You don't need to hold it in anymore. that is my I guess that's my advice to you anyway.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's very comforting to hear that, and it's very inspiring. Thank you. That's I take that to heart. I want you to know.
Good.
Ryan, pleasure's been all on this side, man.
No, this has been great. Thank you for having me again, and hopefully we can do this again some other point. Really appreciate it. That was fun.
This is the Building the Future podcast. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Please like and share. You can find out more at our website, www.buildingthefuturepodcast.com. Together we are building the future.